Doing all right. Obviously, love to start by saying this is a very exciting time for Gamecock football right now. We are obviously in the midst of our guys. They spent this time in January and February getting stronger and faster, and obviously getting themselves ready for spring football. We on the grass with new coaches, new players, and we're really charged up for it, ready to go.
Clayton, as you head into year 3, is there one, glaring thing that you as the coordinator says, we've got to fix this first and then get to the rest?
Yep. As we always talk about trying to fix this whole, we just want to get better every single year in all areas. And there's some areas that over the past 2 years that we've been really strong at. And there's some areas that we feel like we can just take another step in this area here. Some of them got to take some big steps to make this defense complete. And obviously, I would say starting with the run defense, TFLs and sacks. Those are things that we addressed yesterday as a defense. And we're gonna find multiple ways. We're gonna find ways to get it done. And ultimately, we want to win football games in the end. But we feel like that's one thing that we are missing the past 2 seasons, and we know that, and we're not running from it, and we're ready to continue to try to improve it, and obviously be one of the best at it.
Clayton, I was asking Shane about this the other day, and I know it's a small sample size, but you look over the last couple of years, Darius Rush, Jalen Foster, Carlins Patel, some of the guys that you've been able to work with over the last couple of years, that defensive back room. Going into this spring, obviously there's some questions trying to figure out what the depth chart's going to be, but what can you say about just the way Torian has been able to coach up the defensive backs, especially under your system?
Yep. And the thing with coaching under somebody else's system and getting to know guys, me and Torian, we met at a high school back in Georgia probably 15 years ago. He doesn't remember it, but I remember who he was. So I remember he got that job at VTech, and I was like, wow, that's actually Torian Gray. I was still just a coach trying to come up in the game. He doesn't remember it. I can almost tell you the high school we was at. But then obviously he went to the Gators, and he went to the Redskins. I just kept following his career. Then when we had the opportunity to link up here, I was just excited to work with him as he was to get a job, because I think he was in between. But to get to that part, but I think he has done an amazing job, to be honest with you, with just being a soldier. I say he's just a good soldier, because a lot of times DB coaches have things their certain way. And me and Torian, I was a former DB coach. I still am a DB coach. But we had to come together. He had to learn the system and learn the nuances, and we kind of mixed both of ours together. And obviously, it's been very productive the past 2 years. But my hat's off to him. He's a true soldier, because he's doing it. He's doing it for the Gamecocks. He's not doing it for me. He's doing it for the Gamecock and the kids, and that's what you want in your office at all times.
Obviously, you had a ton of freshman defensive backs last year. How have you seen guys like Keenan Nelson, Peyton Williams, and those guys develop?
Yeah. The development part is always it's an ongoing process, and the part that makes me super charged up and excited about it is that you still have the young group of Nick and DQ and those guys. They're still young, and so just to see their eyes kind of light up when you put up a new call or a new technique, they haven't seen it yet. So that kind of brings a little bit of youth out of me. Just a little bit, not much, but it does charge us up as coaches. That makes this probably the most exciting spring that I've ever been getting prepared for, because of the youth. Youth can also bring excitement and energy. But those guys are developing. They're doing a great job of getting Coach Gray's tutelage and learning from Coach Foster, Coach Dickinson in the room, and obviously Nick has been through some things, and so has DQ. But it's been awesome to watch them just learn and live and learn. Yep.
Sticking with that group, Nick and DQ especially, since they played so much and had success on the field, what's, in your mind, the next step for those guys in their progression?
Yep. The next step, so whenever you get out there on the field as a freshman, the first 4 games, you still have, you barely remember them, because you were just happy to be out there. Then the last 3, they kind of got a little bit detailed in their craft. I feel like right now, I've asked those guys what are their goals, and those might have been some of the longest text messages I've ever seen from guys and their goals and what they want to improve in. And it's the small things, from my stance, my eyes, have my mouthpiece in every play, like stuff like that. So, but that's what makes it exciting. So those guys are going to take leaps and bounds. They may not, it's going to be small things, but those are a lot of those small steps are huge, make up to big steps.
Clayton, I know it's one day of practice, so watching Desmond Umeozulu run around, obviously he's a big guy for his age. I guess, what does he kind of bring? And I guess, do you feel like he's a guy that can contribute at least early a little bit?
It's really too early to tell right now. With our numbers in that room, we will definitely, be calling his number to make sure to see what he can do, to showcase his skill set. He's big tall guy that can run and long, and he'll make a lot of plays here, and either batting balls down or forcing bad throws, or as he gets stronger and more developed, he'll be a force in the run game as well.
And with the turnover you guys have had in the D-line room, losing Zach, obviously, who has kind of stepped into that leadership role that Zach was, so key in?
Yep. Zach was a great leader in multiple ways. I feel like we have guys that are natural leaders in that room. For whatever reason, defensive linemen, they have always been the bigger guy. So they're not afraid to step up and say certain things. To me right now, it's Alex Huntley. It's Tonkin Hemingway, who's battling some things. You still have the young guys are actually stepping up and becoming more vocal, which is a TJ Sanders and also a Nick Barrett. Those guys have shown me some things that, from a leadership standpoint, that I think can really help us.
You mentioned earlier wanting to improve sacks and tackles for losses. Do you feel like the struggles the last couple of years in those specific categories have been personnel related, scheme related? Do y'all have to do more to get those guys opportunities, or is it just finding some more different guys?
It's not the guys. I mean, we've had the players. I mean, the game situation sometimes can cause certain things. I feel like we have the people here. We got to continue putting it all together. It's not I'm not going to point the finger at the front or the back end, but what we do believe in is team defense, and we just feel like we just got to continue to hone in on the understanding and the why we do certain things, and really what offenses are trying to do. So I think we need to get better in that area before we start saying it's this or that. But I think we got to do a better job of understanding what they're trying to do.
You're losing 12 years of college football at linebacker between Brad and Sherrod. Kind of where do you see that room right now, especially with a young guy like Pup stepping in there?
Yep. So really, when you lose those guys, that they both brought things to the table, and I do believe the guys that we have bring things that they didn't have to the table. So it's kind of like, it's, at some point you got to move on, and like I said, I really respect and how those guys performed. They kind of spoiled me a little bit in regards of their experience part. To me, that's what gives this spring ball a lot of texture and a lot of meaning, a lot of hardness to it, that we got guys that have an opportunity to go out and showcase themselves and get the reps that they didn't get. So, but we got the Stones, we got the Debos, we got the Pups, we have the Jarens, the Bams, and we have a couple other guys, Colin Bryant and Ronnie Porter and Caesar. Y'all don't know, his name is Andrew Calisardo. We call him Caesar, but we have a good group of guys right now that are trying to get better.
How'd you get Caesar out of Calisardo?
Oh man, it's his hair. He's kind of got the Caesar, the Julius Caesar look. So come on, man. I should not have answered that.
Colin's not here today. He's dog sitting, so he just sent the question, and he wants to ask about Donovan Westmore at edge, and just not just him, but just how the edge position's kind of playing out for you guys.
So right now, obviously, Donovan's a flex player. So, and we knew when we recruited Donovan that there was always an opportunity based on his body and his growth potential that he could play in my room, or he can play up front on the edge room. So right now, obviously, we're in a situation where we probably need to, put some bodies there to help us get through the spring. But he's going to give us. To me, he's a role player, a third down guy right now, special teams player who's trying to find where he wants to be at. But he seems happier rushing the quarterback, which, I get it. But at the same time, we'll do what's best for the team. But he's developing. He's happy. He's doing what he wants to do. He wants to rush the quarterback.
Obviously, Marcellus and O'Donnell are most experienced returning guys at cornerback. But what's that position looking like when you have to replace a couple big-name guys in Cam and Darius?
Yep. So right now, Coach Gray is doing a good job of, I think, of just identifying the guys who have the skill set. Corner is different than any other position. Like, you have to be speed, burst, and change of direction are the 1, 2, and 3 that you have to have at that position so you can recover, because you're not always going to make the right decision as a DB. So right now we're grinding out Sale, getting him better. We're trying to get OD up to that area. He's a changed man, which we all respect that when guys grow. We're also trying to get Emory Floyd. He's a two-sport athlete here at South Carolina, so you got to respect him and his athletic ability, his burst. He has those things, but it's the experience. But at the same time, that's not a negative thing always. it also brings some youth and excitement to the room. And then we have Isaiah Norris right now, and then we have a couple young guys, and then of Judge Collier, and pretty sure I'm missing one. I apologize, but those are the names that's coming to the top of my head. Who did I miss?
I know you watched Nick Harper's defensive film during the recruiting process. Do you dare bring up the idea of him coming over to the defensive side?
So when we first started recruiting Nick Harper, it was defensive. I did watch it. The moment that I heard the word tight end and wide receiver, if that was going to mess up the recruiting, I didn't watch anything else. But now, obviously, he's a special talent. He's a special talent who can probably do multiple things. But when you have that kind of speed, let's see, if you can put some points on the board first. But if Coach Beamer lets us use him in a special situation, we sure will. To me, I see it right now as like in the game, knock the ball down, or in the game pass rush, or in the half pass rush, or 3rd and 20 pass rush. I'll ask for that when the time comes. See, maybe you already blew my question. I had it set up for the fall camp, but it's dead. See y'all. Thank y'all. See y'all around. Yep.